So I was checking out the Warhammer community page, and Games Workshop has an interesting piece. We're looking at snapshots from the screen capture here, changing the use of bolters. I don't want to say the profile of bolters, but changing how they operate in the hands of Space Marines, both loyalists and traitors on there, essentially allowing a variety of different options to pump out more shots, to effectively double the already double amount of shots that you get with the bolters. And the post, I understand what they're looking to do is to capture the narrative and understand that this key piece of tech in the Imperium, and as it spills out into the Traitor Legions, Space Marines train with the bolter, right? This is ingrained in them, and it should have a better profile because of their unique relationship to it. Okay, makes sense, but I kind of wonder, why are you interjecting this now? Is this kind of the new way? You know, the Warhammer community, it's not new, but it is somewhat new in how Games Workshop is pushing out experimental rules or little ideas here and there. And you don't really know if later on if they're going to turn up in the FAQ or if they're going to kind of move from beta into the regular rules on there. And this is the duality of Space Marines here. Space Marines, I remember, I think it was the Iron Snake novel. It was one of the Black Library novels where essentially it was two Space Marines and a land speeder on some kind of abandoned Imperial world with some guardsmen, and Dark Eldar were coming in from the Webway portals. And they did a great job in the novel because we know the narrative. I mean, you know, as the reader, you know, all right, it's Dark Eldar, and then this is what they're going to do. But the novel never really named Dark Eldar, and it was interesting from that perspective. But essentially, two Space Marines and a land speeder just dominated everything on there. And there's that saying, you know, there's only 1,000 Space Marine chapters, and that's less for one than each world in the Imperium, but it's enough to get the job done. It's enough to do that. Space Marines are vastly underpowered in 40K. They've always been. And many, many years ago, there's this idea of true scale Marines where they had like 4 wounds, and they had a high toughness, and they activated twice in each phase, and then they were a little bit overpowered on there. So in a game where you're limited, even with the increased models on the table, in a game where you're limited to these various army factions and you're trying to make it somewhat fair, I just don't think Marines will ever fully scale. So now the question is, if you increase the default bolter output and the ways you can use them, that's across a spectrum-wide army. I mean, everything utilizes some sort of bolter tech on there, and already it's kind of the backbone, the background of your army. So pushing that out, that's going to give Marines a huge boost, you know, if it happens, because right now the rule is totally experimental. They're looking for feedback on it. Could this be the interplay of Sisters of Battle, where you're going to see them have their own kind of unique relationship to bolters on there? Ultimately, though, I don't think it's a direct reaction to how the game is playing. I think it is just the rules, and they're trying to capture some of the narrative. But I do also wonder where we are when we see this with every edition of 40K. We're reaching that point where it's like power armor Marines, they're just not worth it anymore. It's just too easy to torrent them down. It's just, there's too much dice on the table. I know I say that a lot, but it's just kind of where we are in 40K right now. So do you essentially allow Marines to mow down more stuff? Well, I don't know. What do you guys think from that perspective of changing the rules? Not the bolter profile itself, because there's going to be non-Marines utilizing bolters, but utilizing their unique special relationship behind it and between it.